Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Yes and podcast. My name is Ariel Alisea, and the purpose of this podcast is to bridge the gap between the spiritual healer spaces, that whole world, and biblical principles. Today, we are going to be talking about being an observer of your reality. That tends to be a very woo-woo term. It actually comes from, I believe it was Eckhart Tolle, was when I first recognize that term. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the untethered soul. It's I guess spirituality 101 is like learning how to just be an observer of your reality. And that theme came to mind today, actually, because I just got back from a workout class. It was so interesting. So I parked, in my complex, and I could see through the window, not trying to be a creeper, it's just when I parked, it was like the first thing I saw. So through an apartment window, there was a girl and she was painting a canvas, it looked like, and she holds up the canvas and you could see that she's really pleased of her painting. And she shows the canvas to somebody else, and it's a guy that I'm assuming is her boyfriend that comes over and looks at her canvas. Looks, very happy for her and proud of her. And I just in that moment, I just was that's just so beautiful. To watch them and to be an observer of, I don't know who these two people are. They live in my complex, they live in a different building. And as I was parking, I just saw them. And to just witness that moment was so beautiful. It just made my heart happy. And I'm oh, and then I'm painting a story of what I think is going on. It's beautiful to just be an observer. The other thing too is today we went to my daughter's first dance recital. She's 4 years old. And it was just so beautiful to be an observer and watch her. And that's probably the coolest part about being a parent is you get to observe the world through someone new, it's her first dance recital. And I didn't know how she was going to be or how she was going to act. She did amazing. And she actually joined that class pretty late. So she only had, I think, 4 classes before actually performing, and she killed it. And I just think that's so amazing because for me, I hated dance and I hated gym. I mean, I love dancing, but I didn't like performing. I look back at my childhood or even in high school, anything that had to do with dance performances or being seen by a lot of people, I would always butcher it. I would always mess up. I would choke. I would, the anxiety, I had the worst performance fear. What's that called? When you just not public speaking. I actually like public speaking. But when I had to perform, I would always choke. I'd always mess up. I'd always miss the moves. Even though I knew how to do it, when all the eyes were on me, I'd mess up. It was a common thing when I was a kid. So to watch her and be so good at it and to enjoy it, watch the love in her eyes as she's performing and all since signing her up and her practicing at home and just being so into it, it was just cool to observe my daughter in her world. Also, being at the dance recital, my mom had mentioned oh, this makes me want to go back and teach kids. And, it made me think too, I had a moment where I was oh, it might be fun to teach classes for kids. Kids are so amazing, right? And they are. But it's one of those things where, have you noticed we enjoy and appreciate things more to an extent when we could just be the outside observer? Thinking about the couple that I saw through the window and just watching them, as an outside observer of that moment, it was easy to see it like a highlight reel. Or going and watching my daughter's performance, I could just go and observe and watch the beautiful display, not knowing all the nitty-gritty that went behind making this production. I put on a really big event around this time last year, so it was November 2024. And that event was so amazing. And it was more amazing of the kind of person I had to become during that whole process. It was a 6-month, well, longer, but really the last 6 months were just very transformative for me as a person going into being the one that put on this big event. It was a lot of internal work that I didn't know needed to be done through that process. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, I think when we go to these events, or we go to different things, like if we can just be the observer of it, it tends to be more enjoyable. So think about like a common example is when people are in a relationship, sometimes they just want to be single, forgetting what it's like to just be single. Or if you're single, you think you really want to be in a relationship, forgetting all the work it took to really be in a relationship and the challenges that came up. It's like this weird thing that like when we have a level of separation, we have a level of appreciation of it. I want to bring this up because we could actually use this same principle in our daily lives. So, like learning how to be the observer of our reality. How do we just observe? And so, how do we tie this to biblical principles? This makes me think of Jesus, who would constantly say, give them eyes to see and ears to hear. And he was talking a lot about like, he would share certain concepts and like it didn't click for them, like they didn't have the understanding to grasp what he was saying. An example that comes to mind is like in your own life, when you're deep in whatever it is that's going on in your life, let's say it's your work or you really want to make something happen in your life, it's easier to approach it with like outside eyes and ears, you know? So like looking at like things like journaling, I'm going to go back to praying, like these things help you get like a new set of eyes and ears to witness what it is that you're experiencing. Because usually the level of your understanding of the situation, your experience of the situation firsthand, could be the very thing that's getting in the way of you getting a new solution through it. God, where do you want me to go with this? Notice what you're noticing. I think too, when I think about this topic of noticing what you're noticing, when we're looking at a situation, we only see from our limited perspective. And when we're in it, sometimes our perspective can shrink and we can get, usually what's happening, there's like neuroscience behind this too, of when we're in a state of anxiety or overwhelm, or we're very locked in whatever it is that we're like a problem we're trying to solve in our life, right? We play it over and over again and we're really trying to like find a solution. But that replay from that perspective of us being really in it, what's happening in our brains is we're kind of getting too narrow-minded. We're getting too zoomed in. And so when I think about like having eyes to see and ears to hear, it's like a request to expand what you can actually see and hear and observe in the situation that you're facing. Yeah, and I think the best thing we can do as people is step back, you know, like step back, notice what you're noticing. I'm going to share this example. I don't know if I'm going to keep it in the video, but so it's Saturday evening and I have the evening to myself because Olivia's with her grandparents. Thank God, they're having the time of their lives, I'm sure. And I got done with a yoga class. I went and got myself an acai bowl. And my favorite acai bowl is pressed for juice. And it's the closest one to me is in this beautiful part of town where there's like fancy restaurants. And I just went into this moment where I was thinking about like this relationship I was in where we would go on a lot of really nice dates and he would take me to a lot of really nice restaurants. And two of the restaurants were in that area. And I started to get sad. I was like, man, like I'm alone and, you know, I would love to be able to go out to like nice dinners with a boy that I love. And I started to get into like the sadness of that reality of like, I don't have it right now. And I practice this. Like I let myself just kind of observe it and like, okay, like, yeah, I remember those moments. And then I remembered some of the not so great moments. And it's like I took a pause and I do feel like I just allowed God to speak to me in that moment. And I felt like he was telling me like, well, what do you want in a partner? And this is going to sound weird, but I feel like God's been asking me that for at least like 6 months now, where he's like, so what is he like? Like, tell me about this man that you want in your life. And it's like, he's asking me to have eyes to see and ears to hear. And I do believe that God's doing it, not for like me to remind him, because I have a feeling, I do believe that God already knows who this man is. And I think he is asking me, well, tell me what he's like. What's this man like in your life? I think he's asking me to remind me. Like he's helping me have eyes to see and ears to hear. And so I literally took the moment and it totally shifted my energy, guys. Like I was going into this like, oh, sadness, like, oh, it was me. I have nothing to do on a Saturday night, which is not true. I went to an amazing yoga class. I got an amazing acai. It's my favorite acai bowl. And then I saw that, beautiful image through the apartment window. And here I am. Like my life is so good. It's so good. But we have moments where we like kind of drop into that sadness and there's nothing wrong. All vibes are good vibes. But I didn't want to stay there. I became an observer of it. I'm like, okay. And yeah, I felt like God was asking me, so like, what's this guy like? And I was just starting to remember the things of like what's worked in my past relationships. And so I was like, yeah, I look forward to going on nice dates with this guy, and like not every weekend because I don't like to get ready every weekend, but every once in a while, like we just go somewhere really nice and really fancy and we get dressed up and we have fun, and just I get to make him feel so loved and nurtured while he treats me to an amazing dinner. And then I started to think of the last guy that I was talking to for a long time. And I was thinking, like, I want to have just as good a conversations that I had with this guy. Like, I just loved being with him. I loved our conversations. I loved how comfortable I was to just talk about all the things. Like, I just felt so comfortable with this man. I started to think of this other guy that I had just recently met. And I was like, but I also want him to be as bold and ambitious as this guy. And so I was like, just taking the gold from every, recent situation I've had in my life. One thing that I felt like God was asking me to do, I think it was like 7 months ago, I wrote a letter to this man, who I believe is my husband. And I wrote out all the ways that I'd been praying for him and how I'll know when it's right, and the things that I adore about him and I love about him, and how he's such a great fit for me and for my daughter, and can't wait to have more kids with him, and get into some very like vulnerable shares. And so I have that letter, and I have this feeling of like, I'm going to give that letter to the right man at the right time. And this situation happened recently where I was talking to someone, it didn't work out. It's not that it was like bad. I just kind of knew it wasn't the right relationship. And I reread that letter, and I like, it gave me that sense of peace. And so when I think about the observer effect playing in my life right now, it's like a reminder from God of where I'm going. And this is how like we co-create a reality with God. And I'm so grateful that he nudged me to remember, and he does that often. But you have to have eyes to see and ears to hear, and that's a prayer that Jesus would pray over the people, like literally all people. And I think if he was praying it in the Bible, he's praying it still today over us. So it might sound a little woo-woo, but just receive it. Just receive that. May you have eyes to see and ears to hear what you are meant to see and what you're meant to hear, that what is meant for you doesn't miss you, and that there's a good God that wants to give you all good things. Be an observer of your reality. Be an observer of as much time as you'll observe, just doom scrolling on a phone, like observe how you're feeling inside about certain things. Observe the little moments that are coming up right in front of you. Like, I do believe these are all ways that God is communicating to us constantly, is if we just have eyes to see and ears to hear. Observe, step back from what you think could be happening in a situation, and like watch it. Just kind of like see, reflect, journal, pray, talk about it out loud to God. Okay. So we're going to end here with a guided meditation on observing. And so when you're ready, you can go ahead and just close your eyes. You can roll your shoulders, your neck, wiggle your fingers and toes. Get into a position where you feel comfortable and ready to receive. It could be seated with your palms up. It could be with your hands up. It could be standing, lying down, whatever's comfortable for you. Take a big deep breath in through your nose and out with a sigh. take a moment here to just observe your body, your head. Notice any tension on your face, your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth. Move down to your neck and shoulders. Just simply observe how your body feels now. And maybe you don't feel much, and that's okay. Just allow yourself to focus in on your body, on your shoulders, on your upper back. Begin to relax your arms, your stomach, your lower back. Relax your sit bones, your thighs. Observe your knees and relax your knees, your shins, your calves, your ankles, the heels of your feet and your toes. And now just observe your breath, your inhale, your exhale. No judgment, just simply observe, simply see what needs to be seen, feel what needs to be felt. Take a few moments here to observe your day, the day that you've had, or maybe your day is just starting, maybe your day is wrapping up. Observe. And maybe there's situations that have happened maybe today or in this past week where you can give yourself permission to see them differently, witness and observe them differently. And if it's a struggle, I'm going to pray for you now. Know that it happens to all of us. It happens to me, where our observations can get limited, can get narrowed. So go ahead and put one hand on your heart. God, I pray that you give us eyes to see and ears to hear. Help us observe our reality, our lives, with greater awareness, with your eyes, with your perspective, with the heavenly perspective. Let us observe our world with gratitude. Help us have eyes to see and ears to hear how everything is happening for us, not against us. That you use all things for good, that you work all things together for our good. And if we've had a pattern or a habit of seeing certain situations as always working out for bad, I pray that we would just release that now and choose to see how you can work all things together for good. Even if like a certain situation is coming to mind now that has tension around it, maybe shame, maybe bitterness, maybe heaviness, ask for strength to be able to see and observe and hear with new eyes, with new ears, with a greater understanding. Give yourself grace that it may take time, but what matters is your willingness now. Your desire to be able to see from a different perspective. Your willingness to receive greater solutions. Maybe your new willingness to just even have a solution. You can repeat after me and just say, I receive new observation. I receive new eyes to see and new ears to hear. I am willing to see how all things are working out for my highest good. Go ahead and take a big deep breath in through your nose and out with a sigh. You can go ahead and bring your hand back down onto your lap or down by your side. Go ahead and roll your shoulders, your neck. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Well, thank you. Thank you for watching the Yes and podcast. I pray that this brings you peace, that you have permission now to observe your reality in a completely new way. May you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Peace and love. I'll see you in the next episode.